How do you really measure greatness in a sport? I mean, sure, you can look at the stats, you can watch old clips, but the purest test, it's asking the people who stood just 22 yards away and had to face it, right? So today, we're going to dig into why Wasim Akram's own rivals, the guys he battled against, all said he was the best they ever faced. And, I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that, does it? This isn't some complicated breakdown. It's a straight-up, definitive statement. And it's coming from Mark Taylor, the former Australian captain, one of the toughest, most respected opening batsmen of his time. When a guy like that says something so absolute, you just have to sit up and listen. Okay, so this wasn't just Mark Taylor's opinion. That's the really remarkable thing here. It was a consensus. You talk to the best batsmen, even the best bowlers from that golden era of cricket, and you ask them who the toughest was, one name just keeps coming up, again and again. And really pay attention to the context here. Taylor isn't just saying Akram was great. He's putting him in this super exclusive club, a club of two. Just him and the giant West Indian Curtly Ambrose. I mean, think about that era. It was packed with legendary bowlers. But for Taylor, these were the two who were just on another level. So the verdict's in from the opposition, right? They all agree. But the real question is, why? What was Wasim doing that left these absolute world-class players feeling so helpless? All right, let's break it all down. Well, it all started with his signature weapon, the one thing that just completely baffled batsmen, his knack for swinging the cricket ball impossibly late. Now, lots of bowlers can swing the ball, right? But what Akram did was different. So what did that actually feel like for a batsman? You're out there, you're trying to score runs, maybe just trying to survive. What was that like? This quote from Mark Taylor just says it all. He said you had to play him like you were playing French cricket. Now, for those who don't know, that's like a defensive backyard game where your only goal is to not get out. You're not thinking about scoring. That's a stunning thing for a world-class batsman to admit. Yeah, basically, you've got no backlift, you're all cramped up, just trying to get a block on the ball. The fact that a top-tier Test captain had to shrink his game down to that, well, that tells you everything you need to know about how late and how deceptively that ball was moving. He just completely neutralized their ability to attack. And here's the real kicker. See, most fast bowlers, they're at their most dangerous with that hard, shiny, new ball. But Wasim, he was often even more dangerous with an old, scuffed-up one. That just completely defied logic. It meant that as a batsman, you never, ever got a break. Not in the first over, not in the 80th over. Never. But look, it wasn't just the swing. If that's all it was, maybe you could just watch the ball and adjust, right? No. The second piece of this puzzle was the pace. And more than that, it was the immediacy of that pace. Think about a typical fast bowler. They've got this long, rhythmic run-up. It gives the batsman a moment to get set, to get in the zone. Akram was the total opposite. His run-up was short, it was explosive. He just powered through the crease and was on top of you before you even had time to think. And he could do it from ball one, literally, the very first ball of his spell. While other guys might need an over or two to find their rhythm, to warm up and hit their top speed, Akram's first delivery could be screaming in at 145 kilometers per hour, right on the money. There was just no easing into an innings when you faced him. And this quote from another legend, Glenn McGrath, just nails the psychological pressure. As a batsman, you're desperate for those first few overs to get your eye in, to feel the bat on the ball. Wasim just completely denied you that. It was a test from the absolute second he had the ball in his hand. Okay, so we've got late swing, we've got instant pace. But how did he physically do it? This is where it gets really fascinating, because even the other pro bowlers of his time couldn't quite wrap their heads around it. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. You have Glenn McGrath, who was a master of technical perfection, describing something that basically breaks every rule in the coaching manual. Akram's back foot when he landed to bowl was pointing almost backwards. It's biomechanically nuts, and yet that was the engine room for his incredible skill. So it all just came together in this perfect storm, You had that completely unorthodox foundation, a lightning-fast arm action, a wrist position that was always perfect, and this incredible, subtle ability to angle the seam however he wanted. And that meant he could move the ball both ways, which made him just completely unpredictable. So when you put all of those pieces together, the art, the science, the just sheer athletic brilliance, you really start to get why his rivals said what they did. And That's really the key here. It was the combination. Any one of those skills would make a bowler great, right? But having all three, that made Wasim Akram a puzzle that nobody could solve. He could beat you with movement, he could beat you with pure speed, or he could beat you with a delivery that your brain just couldn't even process. And his legacy, wow, it absolutely endures. Years and years later, you have a player from a totally different generation, Kevin Peterson, holding up Akram as the ultimate gold standard. When modern players are trying to master what is probably the hardest ball to bowl in cricket, that late swinging Yorker that crashes into your toes, it's Wasim Akram they're all trying to copy. So that just leaves us with one final question, doesn't it? Look, you can debate stats forever, you can compare different eras, but when you actually listen to the players who stood there, the ones who had to face that late swing and that instant pace, well, the answer seems pretty clear. They believe he was the best. And really, who are we to argue with them?